Hold up.
Hey,
Just you and I again?
I don't know. Yes.
This is being recorded, but it is not out on YouTube as of right now, I don't believe.
And just pause it.
Bam! All right, we're going to go live later on YouTube. We're live here right now anyway, and we're about as live as you're going to get, Matt, Paul, myself. This is the MCC Virtual Business Box Lunch. I'm the Savage in Business, your host, Mitch Cammidge. That's Matt Hewson on my screen. That's Paul Falkowski. And we got other people joining us here shortly. Great. If not, that's okay. We think we're entertaining enough just for you. Now, you're probably going to be watching this on a little bit of a delay. Why? YouTube doing its thing. Can't get live right now. We'll come back to it later off of the recording. So this is being pre-recorded, but it won't be pre-screened for your quality viewing pleasure. You're still going to get what you're going to get. With this and the Virtual Business Box Lunch, we come to you every week. And last week, Paul and Matt did their thing all by themselves. So, wait, golf clap. Always a golf clap, right? We're going to be talking about the stuff that happens to affect small to medium business, the stuff that's important to you, and provide, well, information, feedback. And because we think we're experts at the very least, or because we know we're experts and we've done this hundreds of times with thousands of people, we hope that we can impart some wisdom, education, insight to you to make your business experience just a little bit better. With that, boys, give them the quick intro, the spec sheet, the rundown on yourself. And then this week, I'm just going to open the floor up. What topics are we going to solve, it being the last week of August of 2021? And so when people watch this in 50 years and the alien overlords have, not been able to block all of YouTube illegally yet, what are we going to impart for wisdom today? But Matt, Paul, introduce yourselves and then let's get into it.
Did Matt freeze or did I freeze? Are we
Wow,
good?
still
You
here.
froze. I'll go. Awkward silence. Again, been working with Paul and Mitch for quite some time now, and I'm smirking because we've been working for 5 hours together today. So Matt Hewson, I am one of your brokers of certainty. Been working with small, medium-sized businesses to help make and save them money. So to me right now, it's a glorious time to be here. We're in almost Q3 of 2021, and really, who just woke up and realized that we're 2 years into this and we just got to get back at it. So I'm looking forward to the spitballing today and seeing what comes out of it. I'm gonna see how many red flags we can create through YouTube and everything else. So thanks, Mitch.
Paul, what you got?
Yeah, I'm Paul Falkowski. I'm with these guys as well, and have a little background in real estate and business coaching. Love working with small, medium-sized businesses and helping them to solve their issues, bringing curiosity, growth, and optimism. So happy to be here.
Badass. All right, boys. We know what the format is. If anybody else comes and join us after, great. They're going to get diving right away. It is last week of August. We have September, October, November, December. We know it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter which or any gods that you believe or disbelieve in. Christmas and New Year's is always an honest, integral, built-in, forced, or freely engaged time of year where we pause, reflect. Probably aren't doing as much business as else. I do business at Christmas no matter what. I even do business on Christmas Day. Good luck with the 87% of the population that is away somewhere, either forcing it, faking it, or enjoying it with their family, because you are not doing business on Christmas Day. So that was 7, 8, 10 quasi semi-real days are wiped out. In Canada, we got Thanksgiving. We got the start of the school year coming up, right? We got Labor Day. American Thanksgiving and Black Friday are big days in Canada, but in the States, of course, you're going to write off 5 days in a row. Thanksgiving hits on the fourth Thursday of the month. I believe it's November 25th this year. Black Friday is going to hit. That whole weekend's going to disappear as well. So we're losing, with all of those in place, 3 weeks of time in the next 4 months. It gives you 13 weeks to work with. What do we focus on? What do we work on? What has to be the outcome by the time we get to December 19th, December 20th? I'm going to launch those first three, and then you guys are going to pick the topics after that. What do we focus on? What do we work on? What has to be that outcome? And I'm just talking business in general, but little businesses, right? Could be retail, could be food service, could be construction, could be coaching, could be accounting, bookkeepers, etc. What do we focus on? What do we work on? What are we saying? Good job. Okay. And there we go. Yeah. Nicely done. Well-deserved rest. Drink a bunch of scotch. Hang out with your kids. Put up the tree. Get some presents going. Badass. You've done it. What do we get when we get there?
I'll say this. What do we focus on? Just get to work. And that has been a statement that I will say most likely a dozen times before we kind of end for the week in the next 3 to 4 hours. And it has been a narrative and a conversation that I have with many of our clients, because again, with federal election being announced and where we're at currently with open for summer. Well, I don't know if you guys were up at 5 a.m., but the run today was not a summertime run. It's definitely, you see the change in the weather. So, now it's going to be about, is Alberta, where I'm from and where we are currently from, is it going to be open for fall, right? And you know what? I'm hoping that it is. But we are reacting to the world of today. And you know what? Get to work the way that you can and as efficiently as you can. The work on is simply this: the initiatives that you will need to carry you into fall. We chatted on a syndicate tribe event yesterday, and it was about, I find the biggest changes and adjustments within a schedule happen in September, not January. So like, to me, my new year is not 13, 14 weeks from now. It's a week from now, because everyone's schedules and mindset changes so aggressively because we're forced to, right? So again, kids are home, love the summer, but I'm noticing that I've run out of time to do the activities and the tasks that I needed to do for the summer. So now it's about the honey-do, daddy-do list and get it done. But as of next week, like, the kids are in school, which should be a benefit, but you know what? We don't know yet. So we'll figure it out. But that's to work on what is of today, but be mindful what could be next week. And it could be masks and lockdowns and this and that. And the desired outcome is simply this: keep the lights on, make sure that you can go into the holiday season and not be a leftover version of yourself, and be able to carry through into the first quarter of 2022 with the vision in sight, right? Like, again, long-term planning is fantastic, but like, have the vision, have it, tangible, and make sure that you can achieve it within a very short period of time moving into 2022.
Paul?
Sales, sales, sales. That's it. Sell, sell, sell. Embrace the chaos. It can be on fire in the background, things going absolutely insane. Embrace the insanity, because you know it's going to be there. But sell. You've got to get that money in. The slowdown is going to be coming. Doesn't matter the environment or anything else. Adjust and just sell.
Mm-hmm. Preaching, brother. And if you know Paul, that isn't a stretch. At the same time, it's a stretch, because Paul tends to embrace more security. What did you just say? Leave it on fire. It doesn't matter. Get it in the door. That was going to be my comment to this. And Matt, it embraces what you've said. Paul, it embraces what you said. 10 years ago, when I was working to this point, hey, Don's joining us, badass, love it. 10 years ago, when I was embracing coming into this industry, which I started 8 years ago, and I was working as the lead gen, the business development manager for an outbound lead gen company. We work with other companies, finding them more business. It took dealing with my mentor, guru, teacher, Don, good to see you, brother, to remind me or educate me that Christmas is a great time of the year to actually sell. You might not get paid unless you're in retail, right? You might not get paid. But man, people in December are open to conversations. Life might be fast moving and chaotic, but there's something a little friendlier about people. As stressed and strained as we say that we are, thanks to the holiday season, we're open. So when Paul says sell, sell, sell these next 4 months, what I learned is that you can make an awful lot of inroads in 3 weeks in December, you can make an awful lot of relationships in the start of relationships 3 weeks in December that leads to sales 4 days into January. It was extraordinary to watch that in action. Why are you taking time off? It's December. Who the hell's going to buy anything? Doesn't matter they're going to buy anything right now. You start the conversation. You get your ass in gear. You start the conversations with them, because the first, second, or third week of January, you can be closing business. I had to watch it. I had to participate. I'd be forced to do it. So Paul, you're right on there. Got to sell. And that's talking about, you just got to get done. Don, what we're talking about is that what we really got between now and the end of the year is what amounts to about 13 weeks when you wipe out Christmas and Thanksgiving and other stuff like that. And what is the thing you got to focus on? What is the thing you got to work on? And what are you going to do to measure success? In other words, what's going to tell you, good job, I get to pat myself on the back by the time you get to what is a natural break, regardless of religious belief, that comes with Christmas and New Year's. There's always a 7, 8, 10 days that are just not quite there. What would be your thoughts? 13 weeks to work with. So exactly a quarter of a year.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got to work on, focus on, work on, and what tells us we got there?
Yeah, I think I always like September in particular. It's kind of like get back to work season. You know, if people have had a break for summer or whatever, there's a lot of things that start to kick back in. People are interested in making things happen in their business, be it new employees or new procedures, or, you know, get some new, kind of life in their game. So I always find it's renewal. There's sort of a bit of a week where everybody has to get their kids back to school, and that's kind of lost. And then there's also, they've all paid all this money to get back to school. So they're not really, if you're selling a personal thing, that it's not going to happen, for probably a couple more visa payments. And then later you can maybe get the stuff, but just laying the groundwork, talking to business owners. This is a great time after the long weekend. It's, I like to like say, build those relationships, and it's a good time to close September, October, start getting to November, people starting to think of other things, but then you switch to what you were just talking about, relationship building. You may not get any closes during those last few weeks of December, but boy, you're right. They're interested in talking. They're in a better mood. They maybe have lightened their schedule, or you catch them on that break between Christmas and New Year's because they don't take it off all the time. And yeah, they got all the time in the world to kind of chat, which is a great way to build a relationship for a sale later on.
Fantastic. All right, we've shaken out the cobwebs. Last week, we started to establish some format. Matt and Paul, you guys are bringing it in. I said I'm going to open it up today. So you guys are all business coaches. In fact, this call has got nothing but business coaches on it. So pay attention to the next 44 minutes of your life, because if you're watching this episode, I don't even know how many businesses or how many decades worth of business related experience is sitting on this call right now. But whatever we answer either has to be smart or we are insane. So with that in mind, what's our next topic? I said I was going to open it up early. I'm open to the floor up today. What is our next topic so that the four of us can provide some insight, suggestions, and maybe even argue about it? By the way, even though I dropped a bad word the first time, I usually do at the beginning. Remember, on YouTube, this is not for children. Thank you. That is the message from the management. So, what are we fixing next for small to medium business?
Supply disruption.
Ooh, that's a doozy. Nice one. Nice one. Okay. Okay. Supply disruption. Wow. We just had that conversation this morning.
Mm-hmm.
We had that discussion this morning in one of our other entities, Brewbeard Coaching. It's where we work with restaurants, food related, food and beverage service, et cetera. We had that discussion just this morning. So supply disruption. And I know everybody here knows what that means. I know everybody here knows what that's like. And I know everybody here has got a pile of expertise. Hint, Dawn, anyway. But I know people have got some really good stuff to do with. So I will talk last. Supply disruption. Who's up first? Who wants to tackle it?
I'll go first.
We're so polite. Go ahead, Don, please.
All right. Well, man, it hates a vacuum, so jump in. So so supply chains, and the clients I'm dealing with, almost all of them are having that issue where the supply chain wasn't planned for, and it's throwing off everything that they're doing. They're really making them kind of reevaluate, who their supplier was and what they're getting and so forth. And, I had a client who's starting a new company. He's building a new electronics product, and all of a sudden there, it's a shortage of chips and some of the materials that are going into it. So it totally is disrupting what's going on with his business. Is that he's ready to build the products and they may not have all the parts and pieces there. So it was like, I don't think he thought of that in his planning. That I'm gonna, it'd be other things like regulatory, you have enough money, get the right people. I don't think he ever thought I couldn't get any parts. It was like, so it's a whole new conversation. We said, so we had plan A, B, C. Now we need a D. It's like, how are we going to deal with D? Okay, well, we're going to do this, do a prototype, won't look as pretty. It's like, we're trying to come up with some ways to do that. And another client of mine who buys electronic parts and puts them together for companies, they can't find the parts and the time delays. They call, they expect the part, say, in 2 weeks. Now it's taking 2 months, and then you get a call near the end of 2 months. Oh, it's going to be 4 months, or it might be 2022. And so you've made all these kind of commitments to your customers to do this. So it's very difficult. And some of the coaching I gave him is like, you need to go and speak to all of their top clients and make them understand that the supply chain is real and it's not you trying to mess around with them, and it's not your company that's dropping the ball here. Is that this is it. And also the part of the supply chain is the price of the products is going up and crazy. So they think, well, can you give me a estimate of my product and hold it? Well, actually, I maybe can't. If you bought it all today, one day, the day I sourced it, great. But if you want something for 30 days, no. So we're changing how we're pricing going in the market to say, listen, I'll give you a certain markup on whatever the product is that I have to buy for you. But I can't commit to saying it's just going to be, $1,000 for this unit. It's just too volatile. It'll just throw companies into, a tither. So it's some real challenges out there.
Mm-hmm. Don, good words. Yulia, she's in the house. Good to see ya. Fantastic. We're tackling the subject of supply chain disruption. In other words, the fact that none of us seem to be able to get anything on time, on budget anymore. And we're trying to solve that problem. Don went first. And I know that because we're Canadian, and I've got the best Canadian polite story after from a couple of luminaries. I'm going to let Matt go next because we just had that Canadian version of the polite word. No, you first. No, please, you go first. Oh, I insist, you go first. So now, Matt, you're going next. What you got for us?
Absolutely. And I will wholeheartedly agree with Don. And it's not just about the startup businesses or business individually, it's industry, right? Like I have some friends and clients in the auto industry, and they cannot get inventory at any level, right? And, new vehicles are being pre-ordered with specific options and they're not arriving because they can't go through, I guess you say the warehouse multiple times. Like they just have to get them out the door, right? And when you scale that down to the individual, we live at such a strange time because I can still go onto an app that's A to Z and get something tomorrow. But as a business owner and operator, I'm having to find different ways to find these products, right? Like we as a consumer think, oh, if I can get it off of Amazon tomorrow, why can't my business vendors and suppliers get their products tomorrow as well? And like Don had mentioned, like when you talk about a technology piece, the import cars, they shut down for so long in Europe that they're still not back up. So like if you're going to order a luxury vehicle, you better be doing it now with the expectation that it's going to be months and possibly a year before you get that type of product, right? So scale that down again to a small business, it can disrupt everything about how you do your business because you may not have one of the most important pieces to your puzzle, right? Mm-hmm. And again, like we're dealing with that right now with certain, again, supply that is just no longer available and new. So you have to go to the used market, which again, taking it full circle, is where the auto dealers really have kind of captivated a market because now they're going out and actively recruiting. Hey, you want to sell your car? Great, I'll buy it. Right. So you just have to be agile enough to go out and find the way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Before I get Yulia and Paul to jump in, because both Don and Matt, you've touched exactly where I wanted to talk. The secondary markets and the emerging boutique, small or artisanal producer of everything. microchips, computer parts, car parts, desks, furniture, doesn't matter what it is, food grade, food related stuff, right? All of these are starting to become more microtransaction. The price on used equipment does not directly reflect the price on new, where new material costs skyrocket some things. We're only seeing now, after 8 months of correction, lumber prices and construction materials coming down. But when you look at restaurant equipment, because we've got a client we're working with right now to do that, the argument isn't whether or not we want to afford a $50,000 piece of equipment. It's that you can buy the same piece of equipment that is only a year old, that wasn't even used in a functioning restaurant, for 40% of retail value, or lease it as long as you take the supplies from the company that's providing it for $1 a day. So companies are becoming more creative in the way they use existing inventory, gently used, slightly used inventory. I've been in the market for a car for a while, and Matt is 100% right. The used market is to the point where even inside of the entry level luxury goods, or the luxury good vehicle, I've seen brand new vehicles with 20,000. Well, to me, would be brand new, 20,000 off the sticker price from last year. It's last year's model with 7,000 kilometers on it. So you're telling me that first 7,000 kilometers dropped 20 grand off the retail price, or because it's the only inventory we've got, that's what the market's willing to pay? Because they can't get new inventory. Why would I buy new inventory when I could buy a 7,000 kilometer mileage vehicle, still covered by the new vehicle warranty, and likely has the service plan on it because the previous owner bought it? So we're seeing changes in market that comes into that effect, and we're seeing cottage industry and micro business starting to move into that spot. How many clothing manufacturers, boutique, have started up in the last year? How many home goods? How many food-based businesses? How many farm to table? How many of these industries started to work? One of the big chains here, and I mean, in the States, it's still called Safeway, but here we've got Safeway in town. What's Safeway doing in the middle of the corner of their produce in all of their stores, Western Canada wide? Putting a brand new cooler where they're growing their own herbs and small market greens and bringing in from local farm to table. So every store will have a source and supply within, I think it's 35 kilometers. Somebody will be bringing in fresh farm to table, and they'll be putting a cooler in to grow their own greens, herbs, etc. So even the big retailers are starting to find ways to add more product that they are building themselves or growing themselves. Paul, Yulia, thoughts?
I look at it, there's a disconnect between a customer's perception of price and what actual price is. And, there's definitely a hesitancy to, bump them because they don't want to lose that customer on that side. But on the back end, when your expenses are going up for your supplies, you don't want to be losing money either. So it's a little bit of a catch-22, because it seems like it's overnight. All of a sudden, my prices have gone up, and my clientele have this perception that the price is here. And I'm finding small businesses and business owners are getting that struggle of trying to not pass that off, but at least cover that expense and still make a profit at the end of the day.
Yulia, thoughts?
Yeah, supply chain is definitely suffering big time, and I don't think there's going to be any resolution anytime soon, for the next months at least. But we saw this problem already building up like for months to come. So it depends where you're looking at, local level, global level. So there's definitely just like individual consumers, or like restaurants, like you saying, bigger the businesses. So from the perspective of consumers, can we just hold on to what we already have? I mean, we always try to have more and better and bigger, right? We can just use what we already have, because the landfill's already crazy. There's already enough stuff there. Why we just can't slow down a little bit and just enjoy what we already have in our houses around us? So that's one thing. Just to prevent supply chain from breaking even more, we as individuals can at least do something little like that. So, but in terms of global economy, it's all economy. Sometimes it's things like that created like artificially, right, in order to create all that spike. So it's hard to say. So it depends.
Fantastic. All right, whole panel, shake it out, right? We can loose. 12:29. We still got 30 minutes to rock. Probably 2 more subjects to get into. So supply chain disruption. Nice one. Perfect way to do. How do we close out the year? Wonderful way to take that into. Panel. And I'm going to keep the theme next 13 weeks. What's the next hurdle challenge that we have to solve for small to medium business? It's the next one we have to look at. We're going to dissect as a panel and provide some input or advice on.
Fourth wave.
Ooh, yeah, there we go. There we go.
How are we going to deal with that? You know, can we deal with it?
Love it.
Oh,
love it. Love it. Hey, we've said from the very beginning, we're not going to talk about COVID. We're not going to talk about politics, but we're going to talk about the effect that they have on it. So we got fourth wave. It's not hard to tell. It's not difficult to see. It doesn't matter whether it's real or manufactured. And by the way, regardless of political leanings for a moment, I saw the perfect comment on Twitter last week. I've actually saved it in the form of a screenshot, and I love sharing this with people. It's from our boy, Edward Snowden. So if anybody knows anything about the great government conspiracy, it might be this dude, right? He goes, so let me get this straight. And it's not, and once again, it's not dialogue whether or not you should get vaccinated, whether COVID's real, whatever else is going on. He goes, let me get this straight. He goes, whether or not for a moment it's real or whether you want to get the vaccine, you're telling me that the government is going to inject you with something for free, right? This is the microchip side of things. Do you know how much the free market would pay for a phone that has unlimited range, unlimited data and calling, and costs $0? Do you know how much people would pay on the free market for this? He goes, there's no way they're injecting it. You can pick all the other conspiracies in the world, but he goes, right now, I'm telling you, there's no goddamn way they're doing this. So I thought it was amusing as hell. I think it's a great anecdote that actually touches on business because you're absolutely right. I don't see any of the big players in technology, Apple, Samsung, Huawei, LG, ever building a phone and giving it to you for free, especially if it's microscopic and they can inject you with it and they can track you anywhere on the planet. Because you bet your ass, if a new iPhone costs you $2,000, they're charging more for that thing. So, fourth wave, it's coming. I don't care if you think COVID's real or not. I don't care if you agree with vaccines or not. I don't care if you think it's all a bunch of horse shit and you're going to wander around in your underwear in the streets because it's your rights and freedoms. When the government sends us home, when the government puts masks on our faces, and when the government restricts or slows down business, real or perceived, that has a direct effect. So Dawn hit it on the head. I'm going to give some context for a moment. Then I want you people to start providing some solutions to everybody else. I've been using an analogy, a comparison, or a visualization for the last 18 months to explain what happened the first time we got locked down in Alberta, March of last year. Walk out your front door if you live in a house and look to the left and right and count 5 houses across the street, and including your house, count 5 houses on your side of the street. So that's 10 houses on your street. Imagine every one of those houses is a different business and it provides a different thing. And in the case of a lockdown in the form of a pandemic, all of a sudden everybody is used to walking across the street to different houses at different times to do different things. You might need to go to one house one time a month. You might need to go to one house one time a year. You might need to go to a house every week or every day. That would be the equivalent of, let's say, buying groceries, getting gas, doing some other stuff like that. The moment the economy starts to slow down, people start going to those houses less. Now, certain houses you can't stop going to, the ones that sell food, the ones that provide you utilities, the ones that's your banking house, right? The bank house, the utility house, and the grocery house, you got to go to no matter what, right? Your house, whichever house that is, you need people coming to your house so you make money. The moment people start slowing down the number of times they cross the street or go next door, the whole street starts to slow down. The moment they tell certain houses to stop coming out or stop going to other houses, all 10 houses start to slow down. And the moment they send everybody in all 10 houses home and say you can't leave for a while, what happens to the exchange amongst the 10 houses? So every time we come to a slowdown, right or wrong, a fourth wave, disease is real or not, a pandemic lockdown because we're either not wearing enough masks, or wearing enough masks, or we're vaccinated or we're not vaccinated. Okay. This is very real. We know this because in Alberta, we've experienced this 3 times fully. In other places in the world, it's never changed. In other places in the world, it's starting to speed up, or it's getting even more severe. That is something to deal with. And we should by now know enough to either be able to figure out what's going to happen to us and our business, in other words, our house on the street, or to have navigated, if we're still standing and still alive from the last time, what we have to do ahead of time, but you got to do it preemptively. So, Dawn, great topic. Fourth one's coming. What do we do to make sure we're still upright? What do other business owners do? And then what are we going to do in our business? There we go. Let's do this. What we got? Oh, that's way too much Canadian politeness. Come on, somebody jump in on this. Somebody go, COVID's not real. Please don't. Please don't do it.
Yeah. We've been through the drill before. You know, we have some reps in on this. We have some experience. If things are going to get shut down, we've been through it. So I don't think it's going to be much of a stretch for us. And I think we're going to look a little bit further ahead and go, hey, maybe I need to order a little bit more product. Hey, maybe I need to have this a little bit more on hand. Maybe I should go and buy some computers and upgrade now before there's a bigger rush. Maybe I need to buy toilet paper. You know, thinking ahead, we've been through it. I think it's let's look further down the road and be prepared. So, you know, don't be like everybody else where you're going the last minute. You know it's going to happen. You know it's coming. Get prepared, get ready, and then you can ride it out. And then you, your family, your company, and your employees don't have to be stressed out.
Mm-hmm. All right. Who else has got?
I think there's a lot of businesses who are maybe kind of not taking it seriously because they said, I've had enough, you know, I've gone through it, and you know, it's not sure the fourth wave is coming, but there is stuff, you know, the math is there. That's going to be something that's going to have to do. And I think we could get caught with our pants down by not asking businesses to really plan and do it again. It's like, okay, I'm tired of doing it. Well, no, you still have to do it. There's still this 13 weeks left this year. You really want to maximize what's left in 2021. You have to get on it. And again, you don't want to, you know, go through this whole process, but hey, figure it out. Now you've got even more supply chain issues and people issues. It's hard to find people. They're getting used to staying at home or being unemployed, or they just don't want to come back to the workforce. So there's a bunch of other things compounding. So more than ever, a short-term strategic plan is critical for businesses, and they got to figure it out how to get to Christmas. Not how to do 5 years maybe so much, but how do I get to Christmas now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Julia, Matt?
Agreed. I would say this is that I don't believe that there's going to be the full-on panic. So Paul, I hope that we don't run out of toilet paper, to tell you the truth, because again, like, why did that happen in the first place? But Don,
pants down, no TP, right? Don said pants down. I said no TP. So there we go.
Everybody, I have a solution for you. Go online and buy the add-on bidets. Problem solved. Done.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it truly is, the long-term planning should be get to Christmas, because if you are food and beverage, if you are hospitality, if you are retail, you're already heavy on aged inventory, right? Like, I have some retail clients that are like, Matt, we still have so much summer and we can't get all of our fall. We have to sell something. But again, our mindset and our shopping habits would suggest that we're not going to pay full price for a summer product, right? It's already discounted product in our mind based off of historical buying, right? So now it's about profit margin, where you're eroding that. And then it's also going to be about cash on hand, because again, we all want to spend some money at Christmas, holiday season, whatever you want to call it. But if you're eroding your margin, you don't actually have cash on hand, what are you going to do? And yeah, I agree that right now, if you can't get the product, you can't sell the product. People don't want to wait. There's a timeline there, right? Because again, if you get me something that I want for Christmas in January, I'm just going to hit pause or abort. And right now, we need to not panic, but we also need to be understanding enough that it will happen. And again, like I think I said it yesterday or the last week, that schools will be open until the first kid gets sick. And then at that point, it's heavy, hard, and it will be locked down. And that will be the start. It is what it is, right? Again, it is what it is. Get to work. Now, you better, through all of this, have a plan to do it virtually. And if you don't, it's difficult. But the food guys, again, get ready, because you're going to go to a third-party provider. And if you don't have your app done, that's on you, not on them, right? Like you had enough time for the past 2 years to develop your own application for ordering, right? And if you don't have it, you're going to be lost.
Julia?
Yeah, well, so COVID obviously dictates us how we're gonna proceed with our businesses. Definitely 5-year plan is not exist anymore. Stick to 3 months plan for sure. Another thing, like, yeah, we're obviously driven by the news, what government dictates us. Sometimes if you just turn on yourself and, live in your own bubble, I don't think it's like, obviously, I don't know, stick to, to your work routine, what you still need to do. Other 3 waves, we already learn a lot from it. So I'm sure like the 4th wave is just like another add-on, basically repeat what you already done in the previous 3 waves. I mean, like, I don't see any problem, like, in a way, like, yeah, supply chain is affected, but at the same time, like, I don't want to stress out over it. It just like had too much of it for now. So obviously my company is not like affected by the supply chain. Luckily, I'm not doing any shipping or whatever products, so which is great. But at the same time, like, there's other ways you probably have to be creative and find ways to do business in such an environment we live in and economy we also live in. So
well said, well put. All right, my final thoughts, and then, okay, remember, this is your 30-second or 1-minute warning that we need our last topic for the day to drill for this stuff as well. 18 months ago, the first pandemic hit. If you and your existing business or you and your new business are still upright, pat yourself on the back, congratulations. But you've learned a couple of things. One, your margins right now are razor thin. The difference between haves and have-nots and cash not doesn't exist the way it did 2 years ago. And that was a false positive. It was a lie that we were telling ourselves about our money. So get your shit wired when it comes to knowing exactly what it costs for your business to get by, because you might need to function on a lot less. How do I know this? Because the amount of default rate, in other words, the speed at which people, as the money that people owe you over time accelerates towards failure. Used to be that you'd get to 90 days out, failure rate starts to spike. In other words, if I can get money out of people usually within the next 30, 60, 90 days, the bulk of that's going to show up. And if I can definitely do it in the next 30, 35 days, chances are I'm going to get all of it that people owe me. That's your accounts receivable. You do business for people, they owe you money. Okay. Right now, the failure rate has moved from the 90-day range to the 34-day range. Same failure rate starts at day 34. That means the longer money waits pending for you, the less of it you collect until it fails entirely, till the failure rate is in the high 90% range. Used to be the high 90% range was out past day 227. Well, if we go from 90 days to 30 days, which means it's tripled in speed, does that mean that our failure rate is now at 60 days? Does it mean that 90% failure plus on the money that people are going to pay you is just 2 months away? So if people owe you money right now, we got 4 months left this year, and we have a potential 4th wave coming that's going to disrupt business, if not lock you down and send you home, then your money's screwed. So get it right. Organize what's going on with your employees. You didn't have enough time to save the money if you haven't been saving it until now. Some of the experts in the industry, one of them is a close friend, partner, and client of ours as well, probably one of the foremost expert on debt in our marketplace, is saying that the old adage for 3 or 4 months money should be 18 months. How do I save 18 months worth of money? By starting tomorrow, by doing it every day thereafter. by getting costs certain, by doing a number of other things. Hey, what did we talk about today? Supply chain disruption. What happens when the next lockout happens, but you're the only person that can get something? What happens when the next lockdown occurs and somebody's looking for something and you're the only supplier, the only manufacturer? What happens to price? Mitch, you're saying I should gouge people for price? No, but are we saying that you're going to get what you want out of it? Yeah. How do we know this? Have you tried to buy a 2x4 lately? By the way, when I brought up cars for a moment, one of them that I was looking at when I was idly window shopping was a Land Rover. Yes, it's really, really fancy. That Land Rover being a year old with 7,300 kilometers mileage on it, new warranty, new service plan, new maintenance plan, all intact, full warranty, was $23,000 less than retail last year. It had 7,000 kilometers on it. You're telling me the 7,000 kilometers were so hard driven on a vehicle they're still willing to warranty, service, and maintain for you for its life cycle were so rough that they chopped a quarter of the price off the top? But the price of a 2x4 was 3 times higher this year than it was at any other point. So you'd rather buy a Land Rover than lumber for a deck, I guess, is the moral of the story. But that tells us that price will adjust to what the market's willing to pay. So if your business can put itself in a position where you're the only one supplying, you're the only one that has, or the only one that can build it, then your likelihood of surviving the next disruption, because it's coming, is going to be there. All right. We got up to 15 minutes left. Today, we've battle planned for 13 weeks. We have solved all the world's woes when it comes to supply chain disruption. And we've talked about the fourth wave coming in. So we just about got as close to the line on politics and COVID as we could possibly get here today, folks, except for when I lambasted Matt and Paul with the 6-month review 6 months early, and we talked about robotics and AI. So last subject of the day, what's it going to be? Panel, what are we talking? What are we offering? What are we fixing?
People power, staffing. How do we get any demographic back to work when we've now created this habit of I can sit on my couch, play video games, and the government gives me money? And again, we're intimately, we're working and dealing with that here locally. But really, this is, a national, international barrier that businesses now need to create an incentive program, in and outside of, true pay that will, provide these people the gumption, I'm aging myself there with that term, but to get off the couch and put on pants that have belt loops, right? Many of us laugh, I'm wearing a dress shirt, but do you think I'm wearing dress pants right now? No, because I don't have to. But what's the incentive to get me out and into that workplace environment now, right?
Me and my Lululemon shorts are offended, sir.
Yeah.
We are offended by your comment. Staffing, people, that is a great disruptor because we watched what happened with the pandemic in the advent. We've watched the 18 months of fallout. We've watched it regardless of where it is in the world. And we're seeing things like burger flipping robots coming into the marketplace too. So that doesn't help. Or maybe it does, who knows? Staffing, people, businesses, you need money, you need sales, and you need people. Panel, what we got? How are we going to fix this? What are we going to do about it? How are we going to help people navigate this so they listen to this later on and think, man, that was a really smart 12 minutes of my life. Love it. I got something to use. What do we got? Let's tie a ribbon around it today and send them off with something usable. So when it's Christmas and we're all stuck at home playing video games again, hey, as soon as I get started in January, this is what I'm doing. What are we going to do to fix the people power problem?
One, I think you got to think ahead. I find a lot of people don't start to think about who's coming in the next role until that's vacant. And I always think, well, part of your planning has to be, well, if they left tomorrow, who do you have in the wings that you're either grooming or you've been watching at a competitor's company or whatever? You'll always be kind of hiring in the back of your mind versus it's not an event. It's something that happens in a company all the time. And my other bit of advice for hiring is that hire a rock star in every level of your company. Rock stars attract more rock stars and good people. But if you have sort of mediocre people in the sales division or the ops division or whatever, then you don't attract good people. So you may have to open your wallet a little bit and get a good, great person in each of these levels, but they help attract the other people when they come in and they see somebody in there that's great, and they'll bring in other people as well.
I
Come
also
on,
think
panel.
to
You'll
we
be
have
fine.
to also think about the federal elections that's coming up. So some companies like they waiting out, right, to see what's gonna happen. So it's always been like this every time the election is happening. So either it's even US election. So, and some companies just keeping like closing their wallets till then, and then they will see what's gonna happen after that in order to recruit more staff or actually let go more staff. It depends, right? Like who's gonna be in power maybe, because sometimes depends who's in power. There's like that corporate tax that's everyone will be talking about. Probably it's on companies probably biggest worries, right? So besides how they can pay those employees, it's another thing. Yeah, it was the support from the government coming, but who knows if it's going to come again, or it might be already cut off. Depends who's going to win. It's another, like in the trend also shows that companies don't hire in the end of the year. They always start like recruiting more staff, and it's important, yeah, obviously to plan ahead and maybe have two options, like directions to take, which direction they're gonna take based maybe on the elections. Even though I don't want to bring politics in here, but sometimes it makes a big difference as well. So how companies are gonna do their businesses.
So with Yulia and Dawn, I'm going to jump in for Matt and Paul comment, because it said two things that are really important to me, and they're kind of tied together. One, every major disruption that happens in our marketplace, whether an election, a pandemic, Christmas, all causes an adjustment or a shift in business, right? All causes an adjustment or a shift in business. People wait to see what the next federal government coming in is going to do before they make this major decisions on business. They wait, in the case of industries like construction, et cetera, to see what bids or what contracts are going to be available. Contracts and bids may pause. Legislation may change. Offerings, grants, tax incentives, and write-offs all adjust. People wait for these major disruptions to occur before they make certain decisions. One of them being hiring, right? So when we take that into account, it has to be. We brought up the disruption of a fourth wave, and now we're bringing up in Canada a federal election. You have to account for it. Oh, you said you wouldn't talk about COVID and politics. Well, COVID and politics both have an effect on business. We don't want to talk about whether or not COVID's real. We don't want to talk about whether or not which political party is better than the other. But what we will say is that a federal election and a fourth wave in the middle of a pandemic, right or wrong, good or evil, the right side won or the wrong side lost, has a direct effect on business, because it starts from the larger corporations and trickles right down to here, where you see pauses, reflections, resets, et cetera. Management teams, the different civic employees, et cetera. Some of those adjust after an election occurs, right? So all these have a direct and marketable effect. And depending on what the world perception is of, let's say, Canada and whoever comes to power next, that has a direct effect on our world stage impact from a business side of things. Now, when it comes to satisfying the people side of things as well, why we need to understand that is Dawn brought up something really important. And I always have different screens open with different things and different thoughts to kind of do this. And today, because we're offering it from the floor, I can't precede my answers where everybody else is stuck answering on the fly, right? What I can say is that in business, and Dawn touched on it as well, when we look at disruptions in marketplace, you look at the quality of the people that you've got. But more importantly, the quality, it's almost like two different things. It's the fancy words are high potential, high performance matrix. It's where you look at the ability for people to be able to do things as opposed to what they know how to do, right? The more they know how to do, the more they're performing at their maximum potential. But the more potential they have, that means there needs to be time to invest. So when you reach disruptions in the marketplace, do you have the right employees in place that you can train to do other things? Do employees do multiple functions, multiple roles, multiple jobs? If you're going to hire and you have a more restricted budget, but instead of hiring 2 people, do you hire 1 because they're a decent performer, but they have a higher potential? Do you take the same money that you would pay for 2 people and definitely pay a better employee or a rock star? Which means that the next time you have an opening, if that person creates an environment where performance and excellence is part of the order of the day in business, as Don said, you could be attracting other people. So we have to adjust the way we think about it too. It's like, I got enough money for 4 people. Well, what if you go to hire 4 people in our current market right now and say, I only got enough work for 1 of you, fight for my love? Is that right or wrong? Should you do it? Will you do it? If you got enough money for 4 people, do you break it up to 2 people and hire 2 rock stars? You're used to making $19 an hour in this industry. It's a shitty industry. I'm going to pay you $28 an hour instead. What? Yep. You're one of the best in your industry at 24 with a competitor. I will pay you 28 instead. What kind of response do you get then? But I'm only hiring 2 of you and you got to do the work of 4 people. Probably doing the work of 4 people anyway. Who knows? But these are some of the things that you have to take in, because that's one of the things that comes with the disruption. We have to adjust our thinking. Matt, Paul, thoughts?
I'll go real quick just to finish off. I would say this. Yes, hire the master or the rock star in every department or every silo that you may have within your business. But I fully subscribe to the jack of all trades nowadays, because what I will challenge you on is this. If you only hire 2 and they're rock stars, awesome. And like, I love that mindset. What happens if one of them gets sick? And again, in the world of today, if you get sick, there's no gray area. Guess what? You get 14 days off, blah, blah, blah. So I would say go heavy hard on staffing with 1 rock star and then the jack of all trades, because those people can be movable, right? And we see that in healthcare right now, where you have the specialists being redeployed. And they're like, well, wait a minute, like, I don't deal with this. Wow, you're an RN. Guess what? Go to. So it really kind of speaks to what we should be looking at in business as well, which is, if you have the people capital at the top level, utilize them, pay them, and hope that there's a lack of attrition. And then from there, fill in the blanks with multiple jacks of all trades.
I like a little bit of what Mitch touched on. Sometimes a little bit of scarcity or creating scarcity can be good. Brings out the competitive side. It brings us get off of the couch and put our best foot forward. We see that all the time, right? Good, healthy competition. Also, what are they looking for? What is, instead of, hey, I have this job, you should come work for my company. It's like, how can I attract? Is it wage? Is it time off? Is it flexibility? Is there something that we can do within the company itself with its culture? Is it company barbecues? Is it disc golf? Is it doing something that's a little bit creative, a little bit edgy, supporting community that want to work, be a part of, and want to help build? The other side of it is employees being a part of your company and having ownership and buy-in. I think there's a big disconnect in a lot of owners and not listening to what their employees are saying and actually sitting back. Where there was a whole TV show, right, where Undercover Boss, where they did not know what was happening at lower levels within their company or their organization, because they're too busy looking at spreadsheets and they lost touch with from industries that are out there not doing that.
All right, panel, final thoughts. I got a couple of notes for some business owners to take away today. Final thoughts, because we're coming to the top of the hour here. 13-week plan. 4th wave's coming. Supply chain disruption and people power, baby. There's our 4 topics for the day. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just buckle up, put your brains to work, and get some help making some good decisions. It's like, if you don't know, don't be expected to know it all. Call your peers, call your friends, call your coaches, get some help.
Julia?
What's it just like reminds me back in the time when it was still USSR. So that's you know,
Mhm.
history repeats itself, right? So, and that's something we might see, not exactly like it was deficit. You can't find any products, shelves are empty. Obviously, we live now in 21st century, so I don't expect something like drastic will happen like that. But yeah, as Don said, yeah, buckle up definitely, and maybe just try not to, you know, overspend. Still plan for the future, and have few options like the one. Okay, road A you choose, road B depends on the outcome. So and it wouldn't be as bad. So we are like very progressive country society. So I don't know. I always try to think optimistic. So we've been through it and we'll go through it again. So
Mhm. Paul?
Goes back to sell. You know, make sure that you're in business still by the end of the year. If fourth wave's coming, elections coming, it's hard, it's difficult or a challenge to hire. You know, it's keep going forward. Like I said, it's chaos. Keep going through the chaos. Put the blinders on. Sell as much as you can, but also look for opportunity. Right? We're seeing a lot more communal opportunity. We're seeing fractional this. We're seeing smaller retail spaces. So there still is opportunity, and you know, within the market or the business that you're in, maybe there's something that doesn't take that much time, but still can produce, you know, some cash flow for you.
Mhm. Matt?
We cannot use the excuse of we've never been here before again. So for me, I started off with it, get to work, right? Like you know your business enough now through all of these troubled waters that you should have identified where the biggest pain points are and were, and you cannot repeat that, or else you're going to be in a world of hurt. So to me, it's just simply this: yes, sell, short term, get it done today. Because if you can make money today, and do that and repeat that, you're making money, and that's really all that matters at this point in time.
So from everything we've heard today, let me tie it all together and we're going to close out for the day. The next 13 weeks, you got to have a plan, right? You got to have a plan because of the disruption selling. So you got to sell and maximize every moment of your day, every moment of the next 13 weeks to get your profitability and your cash flow up, because you're going to need a chunk of cash somewhere along the way. As you're doing that, you need to invest in people. If you're worried about hiring or not hiring right now, find new inventive ways, or take the amount of money you're going to spread over a certain number of employees and hire less of that. Make sure they're really good. What are really good employees, you say, Mitch? What are great employee behaviors? What are high performance behaviors? Delivery. Everywhere they go, they deliver on what they're going to do. Quality. The work that they turn out is some of the best that's on the floor. Collaboration. They're okay with working with other people inside the business. Expertise. They actually know how to do the job that they're going to do. Organizational goals. They know what the company's working towards, and they actually get up in the morning and try and make that happen. Self-marketing. They're not afraid to let you know they're good at something, right? And they engage with really good managers. So the next 13 weeks, sell, because the disruption's coming. We know it's coming. Find new, different, better partners, build partners, create new partners so that you can solve your own supply chain disruption. Expect to have a disruption of some kind. Should you just keep your employees at home? Should you have them in co-working places? Can you have them navigate back and forth? Can you change the way shifts work, etc.? If you're used to people coming in at 9, leaving at 5, but instead, you know, people have disrupted households, have a conversation with your employees and say, hey, what's it going to take to get the work done? I'd come to the office 6 hours a day. Cool. When's your spouse, if you're married, have to go to the office? They can go to the office from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Could you be here from 4:30 to 10:30? Badass. That way your kids are taken care of. Or can you take your work home 3 days a week? It doesn't matter what it is. Plan, for the love of God, to do something a little different. Push for sales. Hire really good people. And buckle up and invest in Bitcoin, the latest in cryptocurrency. It is not a real cryptocurrency. It is not real. Just don't hoard toilet paper like last time. There's enough to go around. We're okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Matt, Paul, Yulia, Dawn, as always, it is an absolute pleasure to get you guys in here, because none of us is talking out of our ass. We're all experts. We're all smart people. And when enough of us have an opinion that's similar enough, it either means two things. We're really trying hard to make friends, or I like the second one better, we're probably pretty smart at what we do, and we agree because it's the right answer. Follow along, listen. Got questions, comments, concerns? Don't worry. You're going to be seeing this on YouTube later. leave a comment. Come find us. You're going to find Dawn at Four Tree Coaching. You're going to find Yulia at Epic Experiences. You're going to find Matt and Paul riding shotgun with me at MCC, Brewbeard, all of the other businesses inside of our empire. Thank you so much for joining us today on MCC's virtual business box lunch. I'm your host, Mitch Cammidge, the Savage in Business. It is August 27th. You have 13 weeks to make it rain for the rest of the year and do something a little different so it makes an impact on your business, keeps your family and your employees moving, and more importantly, allows you to continue to create an impact in your business. You survived the first one, the next one's coming. You got this. You're tough enough. You're smart enough. And if you do as Don said and surround yourself with the right resources, find another person in your industry, butt up against them, make friends, hire yourself a business coach, listen to your accountant, save some money, right? Buy a used Land Rover instead of a new one. I don't know. I'm just trying to throw ideas out there, but do whatever it takes to be able to put yourself in a better position than you were before and get ready for it, because in disruption, there is opportunity. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time next week when we are in September. Mitch Cammidge, the panel, virtual business box lunch. It has been a fantastic day. Thank you so very much.
Bye, everyone.